of course, the upcoming debate, which will be taking place tomorrow night on ABC. I welcome welcome David Pollack to the show from the David Pollack podcast. Dave, always a pleasure having you on, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me here today. It's an exciting rainy day in Florida, and I was hungry, and then you started talking about people eating animals, and I don't know if I'm hungry anymore. So,
well, let me try to put this in context. Listen, I love burgers. I eat meat all the time, and I'm sure you do as well. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
Right.
And while that's a funny statement, I do want to ask you a serious question about this, because you see tropes and jokes being put out today besides JD Vance, who started this.
I've put them
Well, JD Vance put out this rumor that has been debunked and completely false, claiming that illegals are coming into this country and they're going to eat your pets. It's a trope and it's a lie, and he's not apologized. Ted Cruz, Jim Jordan, Mike Collins, Benny Johnson, Stephen Miller, Don Jr., they've all reiterated this lie. As a Republican, do you find that problematic at all?
I'm not sure it's a lie. I mean, I've seen the videos. There's people speaking at council. I'm actually going to show it on my show tonight. There's a guy who came to a council meeting to talk about some of the instances. And now I don't know who the people are, whether they were just the recently relocated people from Haiti to Ohio, whether they're legal, illegal. I don't know the status of the people, but there are people eating geese from the park, and there was a woman who killed a cat and was eating it in the street.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak to that. All I can tell you is this. The Springfield, Ohio police chief denied any of these incidents happened, and the city manager, heck, also put out a written statement saying that it's been completely debunked. So
well, maybe you might have but in other communities, I mean, there's video. There's pictures.
Okay, well, Donald Trump ran over his own dog. So I mean, we have anecdotal evidence.
Killed crickets.
Okay, well, I mean, I understand, but like, there's anecdotal evidence. Right. But I do think this is a serious thing. And why do I think it's serious? Because it's a trope. And when you go after groups of people saying they're going to eat your pets, not only is it a lie, but it's very hurtful to certain people that come from other origins. And I'm surprised you don't have a problem with this when JD Vance was specifically talking about Springfield, Ohio, and the police chief's already come out and said it's not true. It's been debunked. The city managers come out and put in writing that it's not true. Don't you think that's irresponsible for people in your party to be spreading this misinformation?
Oh my gosh. Listen, misinformation, if it was illegal, everybody who's running for office on the left, possibly the right too, would be in jail. Nobody tells the truth. Kamala Harris is constantly going on X talking about Donald Trump supporting a national ban on abortion when he doesn't do any of that. And so
what do you mean he doesn't do any of that? He's the reason why Roe versus he can say that he's not for it, but he's the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned. Make no mistake about that.
We've talked about it a lot. I think Dobbs is a great decision. It gives the power back to the states to make decisions.
Okay, but that's your opinion. I understand. That's your opinion on Roe versus Wade. But the reason why Kamala makes those statements, first of all, I don't believe a word. Well, if you want to talk about lying, I mean, again, we can go back to the guy who you support. The reason why she makes that claim, and I don't believe Donald Trump a word that he says. He is the reason why Roe versus Wade was overturned. Let's just be honest about it. I understand it was the Supreme Court justices, but we're talking about a policy disagreement here, right? Yeah. My issue is we're not talking about a policy disagreement. We're talking about blatant lies and misinformation and tropes attacking immigrants. And I'm surprised you're okay with that.
The blatant lies and misinformation coming out of the left is even more harmful. The fact that we have an open border still to this day.
That's a policy disagreement. That's not a lie.
That Kamala Harris was supposedly never responsible for the border. Well, Biden is. At least their administration is. Somebody in Washington, D.C. is responsible for the record number of illegals crossing our southern border.
I'm happy to talk to you about that. Somebody
has to be responsible, not Donald Trump. And the fact that they lie about it is a problem. Okay. That actually hurts Americans a lot more than telling people eat cats.
Okay, well, let me go with that statement for a minute here.
Sure.
The fact they lie about it is a problem. I would assume you're speaking to the left, and we can talk about whether that's a lie or not. But I do find it interesting that all of a sudden you care about lying when the guy who you support continues to lie about the 2020 election. And you want to talk about lies? Well, I have a recent Truth Social tweet by Donald Trump earlier today. Quote, an interview by Tucker Carlson of an election expert indicates that 20% of the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania are fraudulent. First of all, mail-in balloting doesn't even start in Pennsylvania for another 8 days. He's literally putting on Truth Social to millions and millions of people that there's election fraud, mail-in ballots. That's already happened when they haven't even allowed mail-in ballots and they haven't received one ballot yet. So if you want to talk about lies, why aren't you talking about this stuff that your orange man tweets
now,
out?
I don't know the specifics of that tweet or that post.
I got it right here. He put it on Truth Social.
I believe that it's there, but I'm saying I don't know the context or the basis of the concern. But
I just gave you the whole thing. What do you
understand? What I'm telling you, there is concern in the Republican Party of the potential for voter fraud in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania.
That's not what I'm talking about. If you want to talk,
I don't know what's in the thing.
If you want to talk about concern, that's example, David, if Donald Trump said, we are concerned about something, I wouldn't be talking about it. I wouldn't really care what he has to say about concern because he lies about the election, but that would be different. I wouldn't even be bringing this up with you. He just specifically said in regards to Tucker Carlson, another wonderful source, by the way, that Tucker Carlson told them that election experts are indicating 20% of the mail-in ballots are in Pennsylvania are fraudulent. Let me repeat.
So why is that a lie?
Because they're not even accepting mail-in ballots yet. They haven't received one. It's not even.
But you got to go deeper into it. What were the they're citing election experts, right? And they're saying election experts are saying that there's fraud. What are they speaking specifically about with the mail-in ballots?
They're saying that 20% of the mail-in ballots are already fraudulent when they haven't received one. David, how do you
understand that? But why are they saying that then? Are they just making it up, or perhaps the voter rolls?
First of all, I don't even know
fraudulent in Pennsylvania. That's.
First of all, I don't even know if anybody's saying anything. You're looking at Tucker Carlson, who allegedly told Donald Trump something. Now, if you want to believe both of those guys, we can have a conversation about that as well.
They're my people.
So they haven't named one specific election expert that actually has made this claim. That's number one.
Come on, anonymous sources, the Russia hoax based on anonymous sources. With all
you want to talk about the Russia hoax? What about all the right-wing turds on social media that were getting $400,000 a month to spread propaganda? Do you want to talk about funny? I don't see any Democrats that are receiving money from Vladimir Putin. Why is it all the Republicans that are receiving all the money?
First of all, they got money from an organization that got defrauded. That's how the information came out. They were somebody misrepresented who they were and who they were representing. Influencers get money all the time to make posts.
Oh, so that was normal? You think Benny Johnson? Oh, sure, I'll take $400,000 a month to put out one video on pro Putin.
The president's son is going and making deals selling art to foreign governments. I mean, we're talking about that is a direct issue directly connected to the White House. And we're talking about influencers getting defrauded.
So what was the result on the election because of that? If Hunter Biden sold some artwork because of who his father is
on the election, who knows?
Cause and effect. Yeah. We have very prominent, sadly, people on social media like Poole and Benny Johnson who have tons of followers. Mm-hmm. You mean to tell me that somebody offers them $400,000 a month to put out one video with pro-propaganda, attacking Harris, pro-Trump, pro-Russia stuff, and they didn't think twice about it? I wonder where this money is coming from. And you want to compare that to Hunter Biden selling a piece of artwork for $100,000? Let's be honest here. Hunter Biden selling artwork is not going to change an outcome or election interference. These people putting out Russian propaganda and getting paid hundreds of $1,000s a month absolutely will. That's a false analogy. I'm sorry.
I'm going to let you get the final point on it, but I don't think they're comparable. But I'm going to let you get the final point because I do want to get to the debate because I know that's why we're here. But I'm going to defer. And listen, one time I need to come here because I do listen to your show after I get off. And I see all the comments and everyone's like, that guy's crazy. Well, he's just another right-wing nut job. One day I want to come on and have your callers call.
Because I would have to do that.
Because I don't mind taking the shots. I mean, look, I come on here, we're having a conversation. It's a lot of
fun.
It.
I appreciate it when you come on, and I always tell you that. And I appreciate, quite frankly, I mean, I had a Trump surrogate. He probably won't come on again, but he came on for an hour. So I always appreciate it when people coming on, and I know you're a nice guy, and I do appreciate that. I just find some of this stuff extremely problematic, and I just wish all I want, and listen, you're entitled to your opinion. That's why I have you on. Is someone to say, geez, Donald Trump was wrong. He shouldn't be doing that. Geez, these people getting $400,000 a month from Putin, it's wrong. They shouldn't have done it. Wow. It's probably not smart for the vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, to be putting out fake stories and tropes about immigrants eating animals. That's all I'm saying.
Sort of like Tim Walz carrying weapons of war when he never saw combat, that kind of stuff.
So there is a difference between misspeaking once, which you seem to have a huge problem with.
Misspeaking. His entire campaign, when he ran for governor, he talked about he misrepresented his military service.
There's not
a lot of people who accuse him of stolen valor.
Well, there's also a lot of people that think Trump won the 2020 election. So a lot of people means nothing to me. The guy already addressed this. One time he misspoke. He served honorably for 24 years, and you guys seem to want to go after him and the stolen valor stuff. Yeah, Kamala Harris slept her way to the top. I mean, you guys continue with the misogynistic stuff, and now all of a sudden this morning I wake up to illegals are eating your pets. I mean, it's amazing to me that you guys have no. Anyway, that's just my opinion, but we can move on. I do want to talk to you about the debate. All right, so let's talk about the debate tomorrow. I had Kamala Harris, one of her campaign advisors, on, and the reason why they wanted the microphones on is because they wanted him to interrupt because they wanted to show the world who he is. But if you don't know who he is by now, I guess you never will. My question to you, David, is what do you want to see from Donald Trump? And my second part of the question is, and I'm being serious, there is a Republican who won office. He's a former NBA player. The name is escaping me right now. He said if Donald Trump during the debate, quote, dropped trow and urinated during the debate, he would still vote for Donald Trump. So my question to you is there anything that Donald Trump can say or do tomorrow where you would say, you know what, I'm not going to vote for Harris, but I'm not going to vote for Trump either? Is there anything that can happen tomorrow?
I mean, I'm sure there's anything. If he lost his mind all of a sudden and started to look like Joe Biden did at the last debate, it might make me question some things. But look, I understand, and I'll go to your second question and then the first one. Sure. People support Trump's base is very, very firmly behind him at this point. So I think that analogy of he could do whatever he wanted. Before that, it was the analogy of Trump can kill somebody in Times Square and people would still support him. Look, Trump's base is firmly supporting him. And that's actually a really good thing going into the election. And if he dropped trow and urinated, it's really just a statement to how much people are behind him in this campaign. And that's actually a really interesting point. And to go to your first question, what am I looking for from Donald Trump? And you and I spoke right before the first debate with Joe Biden. And this is the thing with these debates. And now with Kamala, like I told you with Joe, she has everything to lose because exactly what you just said. The people who don't like Trump are expecting him to say things and do things that are going to be offensive, that confirm the beliefs that people already have for the people who don't like Trump, right? If he doesn't do that, well, let's say he's a gentleman. Let's say he compliments Kamala.
I'm sure
Well, he's not peeing either, but I'm just saying we're using analogies. He has everything to gain from this debate, nothing to lose, because if he's mean or if he's arrogant or if he's insulting, there's nothing he's going to say that his base is going to go, I didn't expect that from him.
So I would respectfully disagree with you on that. I do think he has something to lose. Kamala Harris is a former prosecutor. He's not debating Joe Biden tomorrow. We're not going to have to worry about her health. She has a good understanding of the issues. I think she's a very good. I thought she did a really good job with the Mike Pence debate years back. So what does he have to lose? Well, there's some moderate Republicans out there that will probably not be voting for Donald Trump. There are moderate Republicans that are out there, including many who used to work for him, even in his cabinet. I think if she does a good job tomorrow, I think they're going to do more than just not vote for Donald Trump. They might come around and they might vote for her. And, think about this for a minute. And I don't know, I didn't really ask you about this, but Dick Cheney coming out, Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney, Paul Ryan.
Oh, Liz Cheney, that one stung. Yeah, Liz Cheney, that one stung.
Well, I mean, she's a staunch conservative Republican. The only former vice president or presidential nominee that is firmly standing by Donald Trump in our lifetime is Sarah Palin. Dan Quayle, Mike Pence, George W. Bush certainly hasn't come forward saying he's voting for Donald Trump. Yeah. Mike Pence won't be voting for Donald Trump. Yeah. Why is it that all these people that have worked for Joe Biden and all these people that have been Democrats, that have been presidents or vice presidents, they're all supporting Kamala Harris? Why is it that all these people refuse to vote for Donald Trump? Is that not concerning to you at all?
No, and I want to touch on that in a second, but I do want to circle back to, I want to finish my point on the debate. Sure. I think if Trump even does average, I think he walks in, he walks out, nothing changes. Mm-hmm. If you're right, if Harris shows up and is like a superstar and is answering all the questions in a way that makes people feel confident and she looks presidential in a way, mm-hmm. it can make people who are on the fence about her maybe pull towards her side. But if she shows up the way most of us expect her to show up, and that's sort of speaking around the issues, looking rehearsed, looking inauthentic, laughing inappropriately in inappropriate times, if she shows up like the Kamala that nobody liked or supported in the Democrat primary, I think she has everything to lose. And polling is already showing Trump coming ahead before even the debate. But I want to go to your second point because it's interesting. I try to tell you, and we never have time to talk about this, we need a whole show on why David Pollack supports Donald Trump, because it's not easy. And a lot of your listeners and your viewers go, oh gosh, everybody who supports Trump is this person. He must be racist. He must be this. He must be a bigot. What kind of a person can support Donald Trump? I've heard it my whole life, right? Well, since I started supporting Trump. The names you mentioned, Dick Cheney, Mike Pence, Mitt Romney, Liz Cheney, Paul Ryan, those are the worst names in our movement. Like, if you say you're supported by Mitt Romney, you might as well leave. Nobody.
And why did he choose Mike Pence to be his vice president? I thought he only hired the best people.
No, he was a mistake. The reason.
What about the 30 or 40 people prior in Trump's administration, including many generals that will not be supporting Donald Trump? I thought he only hired the best people. You literally have 40 people that were in Trump's cabinet that will not be supporting him. That don't you see kind of a trend there, or what? These are just all bad people.
This is what I'm trying to explain.
Okay.
The reason why I support Donald Trump, and a lot of people do, same reason why people support RFK, the same reasons why people supported. Oh gosh, how am I drawing a blank?
Not a lot of people support RFK. In fact, he was under 5%.
Well, anyway. What people are sick of is political establishments. Democrats are sick of it. Republicans are sick of it. MPAs, independents. People are sick of the political establishments that come together behind the closed doors in the smoky rooms, make deals that do nothing but hurt American people. The Republican Party didn't like Donald Trump in 2016. I'm pretty sure they don't like him right now. What Donald Trump is an anti-establishment candidate. And there's a reason why the establishment, the firm establishment, like Paul Ryan, who, by the way, is responsible for some of the policies that couldn't get put forward with the Republican majority because of Paul Ryan. You have these Republicans, quote unquote, like Mitt Romney, that put the party and their establishment loyalty before their duty to the American people. What the American people want is people to represent them. I have to take Biden. They're all establishment. Trump is the only non-establishment pick.
David, with respect, I have to take major issue with what you just said. I think it's
good radio.
It's the absolute opposite. I think most people would agree that when Liz Cheney and Mitt Romney and Adam Kinzinger and those that spoke at the DNC weren't putting their party before their country, they were putting the country before the party. Jeff Duncan, how can you possibly say that? Liz Cheney ended her career. Mitt Romney.
No. We ended her career. She didn't end it. We ended it.
Because you guys are in a cult. That's why when somebody speaks out against and talks truth, you push them out of the party. The Dick Cheneys of the world, these Republicans weren't even at the RNC. Your entire party.
We don't want them there.
Well, if you don't support Donald Trump, we want you out of the party.
No, it's not about not supporting Donald Trump. If you don't support America First policies, we are sick. Republicans are sick.
What policies does Liz Cheney not support that you would say is an America First policy that she is all of a sudden against? I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, Liz Cheney is not America First. Liz Cheney is Liz Cheney first. Paul Ryan, Mitt Romney.
Liz Cheney is Liz Cheney first. She didn't win re-election because she didn't support Donald Trump and she voted to impeach Donald Trump. How could you say Liz Cheney is first?
If you're a Republican, let me ask you this. If you're a Republican and the sham impeachments, those impeachments against Donald Trump
were your opinion, it was sham. In your opinion,
illegitimate. The second impeachment was so bad, in fact, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court wouldn't even preside over it. The Democrats manufactured evidence during.
Was January 6th manufactured? I'm just asking you. Oh, well, no. But let's talk about impeachment. No.
Pelosi purposely left the Capitol undefended in order to have a riot there because the narrative was standing by.
Let me ask you a question.
And they opened the door for it.
Let me ask you a question. If Donald Trump doesn't say the election was stolen months leading up to January 6th and lie and not say that Joe Biden cheated and the Democrats cheated, does January 6th happen? Forget about our opinions on Nancy Pelosi.
So Trump's responsible for January 6th because he had the courage to stand up for what appeared to be election fraud.
It's not courage when you considerably lie and there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud.
Needed to be
no evidence. I'm not here to debate you on the 2020 election.
But at the time, there wasn't no evidence.
Okay, so there was zero proven evidence at the time or now, widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcome of the election. So I'll ask you the same question
again. There were allegations, and there was evidence.
Allegations. There were no credible allegations. No.
You said yourself.
No credible allegations.
There wasn't evidence. You said that there wasn't evidence enough to overturn the results of the election.
Never was back then either. So I'll ask you the same question.
But you're saying there was no evidence. There wasn't no evidence.
By the way, Donald Trump is still lying about it now. So don't give me this nonsense that, oh, well, he thought he had credible evidence back then, but it's been disproven. He still says he won the 2020 election. So now I'm going to go back to that same question. Sure. If Donald Trump doesn't lie months before January 6th and say that the election was stolen and Joe Biden cheated, which, by the way, there was no evidence credible, that does January 6th happen?
If there wasn't a concerted effort to cover up the counting of the voting, putting cardboard boxes in windows in Michigan, random shutdowns in Georgia for water main breaks, and when they reopen, 100% of the vote going to Joe Biden, voter logs being deleted and erased when they shouldn't have been, and they should have been preserved. There might not have been evidence to support overturning the election, but there was evidence of fraud. There was 105% turnout in certain precincts. So you can't just sit back and
evidence of fraud. The only people that have been convicted on when it comes to fraud in the 2020 election, believe it or not, are Republicans. And I've had some of them on the show before, and throughout the country, the fake electorate schemes trying to overturn a free and fair election. Obviously, David, the answer is no. January 6th doesn't happen if Donald Trump isn't lying about it. So with all due respect, I disagree with you. You say it was a sham. These impeachments were a sham. You don't like the fact that there are some Republicans with a moral compass that were willing to put the country before their own party. They are not loyal to Donald Trump, and they shouldn't be loyal to the Republicans. They should be loyal to the country. And the Mitt Romneys and the Liz Cheneys and the Adam Kinzingers and the Jeff Duncans. By the way, his entire family was put at risk because of the lies of Donald Trump.
Trump's family is put at risk. They tried to kill him 2 months ago. And
no, I'm not going to let you get away with that.
Okay.
They didn't try to kill him.
And who did?
One deranged Republican. How do we know? Based on the FBI. And if you want to go by
the FBI still hasn't given us any evidence yet.
All we know,
director quit, and the FBI stonewalled the Congress when they tried to get information. Oh, I don't have that information.
The reason why the FBI director quit is because clearly there were security mistakes that were made.
Right.
That doesn't mean that.
Why were there security?
Well, first of all, the investigation is still open.
That's my point. We still don't know.
When you say they tried to kill Donald Trump, all we know now, based on the FBI and based on the press conferences and the information that has come forward, not conspiracy theories, from actual trusted people, not the Alex Joneses of the world, okay? Right. What they have told us, actual officials that have been investigating this case, is that there's only one individual that was responsible for this.
Of course, that's what they're going to say.
He was 20 years old. He's dead now. And guess what? The 20-year-old Republican. I'm just giving you facts.
Well, okay, so here's some other facts. No, hold on. Here's some other facts, Brian. Okay. Somehow at an outdoor event, because there's two narratives here, right? The one narrative is their narrative that the official narrative is there was one person responsible. We don't know all the details yet because there's, of course, no report.
But you think it was an inside job like January 6th? You're Vivek Ramaswamy now.
I think that a rooftop 180 yards or so from a stage where the president of the former president of the United States, current frontrunner for the Republican Party, is speaking. There's a roof unsecured, a guy walking around with a rifle being pointed out to police. Police saw him. They saw him before it even
isn't that just a failure? A failure? Right. So that would probably mean that it was certainly a failure based on law enforcement and the Secret Service. So but when you say they, so are you saying the Secret Service and George Soros were behind the attempt?
I don't think this guy acted alone. I think this guy had help. I don't know who helped him, but there is no way a lone gunman goes to an event like that with a rangefinder, gets caught by Secret Service, and they go, you're good with it, gets to a roof with a rifle, takes a shot against the president. There is no way that happens unassisted.
So if you want to go by conspiracy theories, I remember the Evander Holyfield Mike Tyson fight when Mike Tyson bit his ear, and I look at a picture at his ear right now, and it's still severely damaged decades and decades later. It is impressive.
Donald Trump didn't get shot in the ear.
Well, if you want to go by conspiracy theories, I don't see any scar or anything. His ear just grew back magically, but I'm not a conspiracy
theorist. Plastic surgeon who fixed his ear. It looks good.
So David, could it be just possible that there were mistakes made by the Secret Service and law enforcement, and that this 20-year-old may have just done it by himself?
And an alien beamed down and shot the president. Anything's
possible.
That's
not possible because there's no evidence. I'm an evidence person. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that the 20-year-old did it by himself.
The only
we have a 20-year-old dead man who was on top of the roof. That's the evidence that we have. We have one lone shooter.
That's not all the evidence. That's not all of the evidence. There's other evidence, right?
What are you talking about? What other evidence? What are you talking about?
So you're telling me closed door, nothing more do we need to investigate because there's a dead shooter?
No. I'm not telling you anything. You're the one that has to show me the evidence. You said there's more evidence. Where is it?
And that was my point. I said we have no information yet from the FBI.
We have a lot of information, actually. We have this guy's name. He's dead. We have video of him climbing up onto the roof by himself. Nobody helped him. He was the lone shooter.
For an hour waiting for somebody.
All right. Well, listen, if you want to come up with a conspiracy theory that you think somehow liberals or Democrats were behind this.
Conspiracy theories always come true, though. I like the
really they did
conspiracy theory about COVID. We said it came from a lab in China, and everyone's like, no, it was in a wet market, and it's racist to say it came from a lab in China.
No. Nobody said that it was. Nobody said. Hold on. Nobody said that it was that it came from a lab in China was racist. When people used racist and I was one of them, to Donald Trump when he called it the Kung flu, and he made stupid statements like that. Okay, we still will never know 100% for sure how COVID happened, but I don't want to get into a COVID conversation with you. All I want to say
theories are theories until they become true.
Well,
and
yeah,
I don't have the information to say that what I'm suggesting isn't true. I do think there other people had to have been responsible for that shooter that day.
You can think that just like 70% of the Republican Party thinks that Donald Trump won the 2020 election. Just because people think it doesn't mean it's true. I'm an evidence and a fact-based person. The evidence is the
evidence is being hidden. How do you get the evidence, Brian?
Okay, well, where is your evidence that
evidence being
hidden? You have an open. Hold on. You have an open investigation, and there's an ongoing investigation. FBI isn't going to give you everything until the investigation has concluded. Now, listen, I'll be the first one to admit there were absolutely failures within the Secret Service and with law enforcement that day. There's no question about that. But based on what I've learned and based on what we've seen and based on the real evidence, there was one person responsible for this. He's a 20-year-old Republican who is now dead. I don't know why.
That's a conclusion. You've drawn a conclusion based on
give me other evidence to prove otherwise, because I haven't heard you say anything other than you think that they're withholding evidence. I haven't heard you say anything.
We're talking in circles. I think you're drawing a conclusion from evidence, and my evidence,
that's usually what people do.
You're using the same set of evidence to draw two different conclusions. The evidence you're relying upon to say he was a lone shooter and he's dead, end of story, is I'm using different evidence to suggest that I think something more has happened there.
Well, when you say more, what do you think? Democrats were behind this? You think George Soros?
I don't know. No. I'm not. What I'm suggesting is for us to assume that this individual acted alone, climbed onto a roof, and shot at the president without any interference whatsoever.
Well, I can say this. I can say this beyond the shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
If the Secret Service was behind it in any way, shape, or form, or law enforcement was behind it in any way, shape, or form, they would have made sure that the deed would have been done, and they wouldn't have shot this individual within 2 seconds.
Let me tell you something.
So it doesn't make any sense.
A head turn away from the deed being done. Literally a head turn away from the by time.
But the deed was not done. So if you're claiming that it was an inside job based on professionals, or I don't even know what you're claiming, but law enforcement or FBI, the deed was not done. And I'm pretty confident that if somebody like that was behind this, they would have made sure it got done, because it wouldn't have been hard to do. Instead, they find a 20-year-old kid you're claiming that couldn't shoot for anything, and even took shooting lessons and was a horrible shot. So you're claiming could be an inside job, yet they choose the one person who couldn't shoot a deer from 3 feet away. It makes absolutely no sense to me, but that's fine. What do you want to see from Donald Trump tomorrow night?
What I'd like to see, honestly, that's hard. That's a really tough question for me, Brian, because I'm not as crazy as your audience thinks I am. Because when I used to watch Donald Trump in the 2016 debates, I've been a Republican since I started voting. So I would watch the debates informed as a Republican, and I would see Donald Trump in the debate. He would say something, and I would turn to my wife and I'd be like, ooh, he's done after this. There's no way he recovers from that. And then he would just move up in the polls. And then he would say something in the next debate. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know if he recovers from that. And then he moves up in the polls. And then throughout his entire presidency, he would come out and say something. And I would say, oh, that's really bad. And then he would go up in the polls. And I say, okay.
There's a lot of idiots in this country that think that the president of the United States should entertain us instead of being a policy.
Hold on, but let me tell you. So I started learning that there's a function, and I've told you this before, and you get mad at me when I say this. I think there's a function to the reason why Trump says the things the way he says them. That being said, what I've learned is the things I expect Trump to say or the things I want Trump to say aren't necessarily the things he needs to say. What he needs to say, and that was a very long, I walked around the block a couple times to get to that. What he needs to say is whatever's necessary to firm up his base, make people believe that he can win this election. It would be good if he can tear Kamala down a couple of notches, but I think that would hurt him because it never looks good when a man attacks a woman.
Well, you're not going to like what I'm about to say, and I know that you're going to disagree. And I'm also not going to put you in this category.
Sure,
but I can tell you right now, if you want to talk about Donald Trump's base.
Yeah.
And I believe his base, and I'm not putting you in this category.
But I am his base.
Are very well. Listen, I think there are a lot of uneducated, ill-informed, middle-aged white people that are Donald Trump's base. And I can tell you right now, if Donald Trump tomorrow on a debate stage called Kamala the N-word, his base would still vote for him. And I think that speaks volumes about his base. Now, I know you're not one of those people, and I'm not claiming you are. There are a large portion of his base where if he slipped up and called her the N-word, they would still. You're laughing, but I'm being very serious.
It's crazy. Like,
it's not crazy. It's not, David. It's not crazy, and here's why I say it's not crazy. When he said he can shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and they would still support him, he was talking about the cult of his base. He can call somebody the N-word. And let's be honest, many of people, when they call her a DEI hire, in my opinion, that's what they're calling her. But beside the point, there is a portion of his base that they would still support, a large portion, that they would still support him if he got there on that stage and called her the N-word. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I always call it a cult. Yeah. Part of his base are bigots, homophobic, and racists. Now that is just a fact. And if you're going to deny that, you can, if that's your opinion. I see it at his rallies. I don't see it at Kamala Harris rallies.
I've been to his rallies. I've never seen the bigots and the racists.
You haven't seen Let's Go Brandon shirts. You haven't seen Confederate flags. You haven't seen
Let's Go Brandon racist.
Well, first of all, you're just a moron if you wear a shirt like that. F Joe and the Ho. I've seen those. It's misogynistic.
I've seen Let's Go Brandon, which was hilarious.
It's misogynistic, and we see a lot of people.
Brandon is a misogynist.
Well, no, the Ho statement certainly is, and I would say Let's Go Brandon, and you wear a shirt that says F the president, you're a moron. I don't care if it's Donald
your
Trump
side doesn't say horrible things about the president and his supporters.
I'm talking about going to a rally and being a supporter. And I can tell you right now, I didn't see one shirt or one hat or one sign that said F Donald Trump, because it's a different crowd, man. It's a different crowd, David.
The people who are burning DC down after the inauguration
that had
2016 were somehow better people than somebody who wears a MAGA hat.
First of all, the people, by the way, some of those agitators, and you're talking about Black Lives Matter protests, which had nothing to do with an election.
No, in 2016, it wasn't Black Lives Matter. I'm talking about 2016, not 2020. I'm talking about after the election in 2016 on inauguration night, the Democrats rioted in Washington, D.C.
How many people were arrested after the 2016 election?
Arrested? What do you mean? How many people were arrested?
Oh, how many people committed crimes? I don't know. I mean,
not enough people were arrested in the
way. Did anybody die? Were any officers injured? Did anybody die that day?
Well, I can tell you after the 2020 riots, a lot of people died. Yes,
right. But you just said 2016. So the answer is no. Nobody died. No officers.
You're telling me that MAGA people, because you've been to the events, they say mean things about Kamala Harris and Joe Biden.
No, saying a mean thing is, saying somebody's stupid.
Even if they say F them, whatever you say, they say. The demonstrations on the left, they're burning buildings, attacking people, murdering people in some instances, burning cities down. Don't shake your head. In St. Louis, they shot a retired cop dead in front of.
Well, you are referring to Black Lives Matter protest. In my opinion,
a leftist organization who was supporting.
Okay, so among that organization is about 7 or 8 people. I don't support the organization. I support the movement. So that's irrelevant. Number two, you didn't poll or ask any of those agitators. By the way, it's been proven that some of those agitators, at Black Lives Matter protests were actually Proud Boy members that went to jail. Some of those people are not political at all. They were just there to do stupid things, and I don't condone any of that violent behavior.
But they were inspired by the rhetoric of leftist politicians like Congresswoman what's her Maxine Walter,
who said you can be confrontational. So you're saying being
in their face.
So on one side, you're blaming Maxine Waters for all the Black Lives Matter violence that took place because she said be confrontational.
No,
but
what I'm telling you is the rhetoric of the left is violent, and then the groups use that rhetoric to look. We're getting off track.
No, we're not getting off track. I think this is an important
rally. People that are burning cities down.
This is an important. It is an important point. You're blaming Maxine Waters to an extent for all the Black Lives Matters violence. Hold on. Who said, it's very important to put things into context, the quote, who said be confrontational, and you're taking that. But yet, for months and still today, Donald Trump says he won the 2020 election, and you don't give him any responsibility for what took place on January 6th. That is absurd, David.
I know we're getting back to a point that we were getting at before. It's fine. I'm just saying, look, and I know what you were saying, and to get to your point, I think it's a misconception, and it's one that might result in an outcome of the election that you don't like, to assume that Trump's base.
Well, here's the difference, David.
Middle-income white people.
Here's the difference, David. I guess,
and I don't fall in that category.
I understand, but here's kind of an important distinction, David, and I guess we'll have to leave it at this. But and I'll hear your thoughts on this. But it's very simple. If Kamala Harris loses in November, she will concede. She will pick up the phone. She will call Donald Trump, and she will say congratulations. If Donald Trump loses, under no circumstance will he concede, will he pick up the phone, and will he admit that he lost. That's the bottom line, David. So you can argue it all you want to, but Harris will concede.
We'll put a wager on that, okay? Let's put a wager on that.
I'll bet whatever you want. I'll bet whatever you want. Donald Trump will not concede.
The betting rules are different. We'll have to figure it out what's legal.
Okay, fair enough. David, always a good conversation. The David Pollack Podcast, you do a good show, and I always appreciate it when you come on here, and we always get into a really good spirited debate. It's always fun. David, thank you so much for joining us. Don't worry about the people that call you names. People call me,
okay. Can I say one
thing? Names every day.
You got to run. I want to say one thing that's important
for
your viewers and your audience. Look, we're debating. I respect Brian a lot. We're friends. We have these discussions, but guess what? We can argue with each other, disagree. We can even get angry with each other. But at the end of the day, we're still friends. We don't hate each other. Well, you guys out there might think I'm crazy, but you should be having these conversations with you disagree with too, and then walk away, shake hands, find ways to disagree on policy. It doesn't have to
because I don't think you're a bad guy. I think you're a nice guy, but I hate Donald Trump.
Most people are good people.
I hate bigotry. I hate racism. I hate people like JD Vance who put the tropes out there this morning. I know you wouldn't do that, but that's why I try to call that sort of
today. I was saying about Kamala Harris it supports eating cats.
Well, I guess she's a cat lady then, for lack of a better term. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Right, David, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate you.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. That's David Pollack, everybody, from the David Pollack Podcast.